Hello, future diplomats. Welcome back. Today, we're going to be diving into one of the most important skills of the FSOT or the FSOT, and that is logic and reasoning. If you can master how arguments are built, how to tell the difference between fact, opinions, and evidence, assumptions, and full arguments, you'll not only pass the test, or more so the section of the test, you'll start thinking like a diplomat and maybe even like a lawyer, because this section is an influence, or is being influenced from the LSAT, their logic and reasoning as well. So let's break this down step by step. I have some slides. So today we are going to be speaking about logic and reasoning, the building blocks, the foundation for identifying and also analyzing. So think of these five elements as grammar of reasoning. Before you can analyze or evaluate, you need to recognize what you're looking at. A fact is something that is verifiable. If I say the law was passed in 2023, you can check that. It's measurable, it's provable, it's neutral. An opinion is a belief or a value statement. The law was unfair. That's not something that you can prove or disprove. It's based on how someone feels, right? Even when it comes to evidence, it is supporting that justifies a claim. Crime decreased by 12% after the law. That's data, and it's used to persuade or reinforce a conclusion. An assumption is the unstated idea that must be true for the argument to make sense. In this case, the assumption would be crime decreased because of the law. That connection isn't proven, but the argument depends on it. And finally is the argument itself, is the complete set of statements where premises support the conclusion. It's a full structure, facts, evidence, and assumptions working together to persuade. These five elements being fact, opinion, evidence, assumption, and argument are the skeleton of reasoning. Once you see them clearly, every paragraph, policy, news article starts making a logical sense to you. So let's actually analyze the relationships. First, once you can identify these pieces, the next level is learning how to connect them. This is where FSOT questions start to get a little tricky. First, identify the conclusion. If you're in the WhatsApp group, then you know we've been doing these pop quiz, and we'll continue doing them up until the day of the test. Out of respect, during the session, we're not going to do any pop quiz during the WhatsApp. In the WhatsApp group during the time of the test because of notifications. Of course, you as the individual can mute your notifications, but we also want to make sure that we're there in solidarity for you. So we will still post on Monday because we're going to be testing on Monday. Or not testing, but actually coming together on Monday for our weekly session. So I look forward to seeing you on Monday if you're watching this on YouTube. So essentially, first, you want to identify the conclusion. Next, identify the premise. So find the premise. Those are the because statements, right? I think when you identify the conclusion, it's, what's the main point? What's the main point of it all? What is the main point being made? What's the claim to fame, as I would say, or more so like if you and your friends like to argue, or you and your spouse like to argue, you start getting to the point. Well, what is the conclusion? What is the main point being made? Everything else is either supporting that or is challenging the actual conclusion. Next, again, that premises. Those are the because statements, the reasons given. Then spot the logical bridge. This is the assumption that links those premises to the conclusion. If that bridge collapses, then the argument collapses as well. So here's an example. All embassy workers or employees who work abroad must follow security procedures. Therefore, anyone, and I mean anyone, working in an embassy is trained in security. So the hidden assumption here is that All who work in the embassy are also abroad. And if some employees work domestically, that reasoning doesn't hold. Something else to add there as well is you must assume that if they are an employee, then they are also trained in security. There's a lot of assumptions here. One thing that I want you to do at the end of this is learn to identify if it is evidence, if it's an argument, if it's fact, if it's opinion. I really want you to be able to identify what these components are, and there will be an assignment thereafter. If you look below in the description, you can actually go ahead and pull the document, and you will see a statement. And what I want you to do is read the statement and then go through the questions. There's going to be 3 statements there for you, and answer them and identifying which, by labeling which one it is. The instructions are going to be there as well. So that's essentially how you test logic. You look for what's missing between the premise and the conclusion. So advanced logic skills. Ask yourself, essentially, once you see the structure, you can start evaluating its actual strength. So ask yourself, is the evidence credible? Is it relevant? Is it sufficient? Does it actually prove what the speaker claims? Does it show correlation or true causation? Next, watch the logical flaws, these small traps that weaken the argument. You'll see these often. Ad hominem, attacking the person instead of the point. Strawman, twisting someone's words to make them easier to defeat. Slippery slope, assuming one small event will spiral into disaster. Overgeneralization, drawing a huge conclusion from one example. False cause, claiming one thing caused another just because they happen together. Faulty analogy, comparing 2 things that aren't actually similar enough. You'll also need to distinguish deductive and inductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning guarantees truth. If the premises are true, the conclusion must be true. The inductive reasoning is probabilistic. It suggests the conclusion is likely but not certain. And finally, you must be able to draw valid inferences. If A implies B and B implies C, then A implies C. The FSOT will more than likely hide these patterns or sequencing in the question. So you're going to want to make sure you're looking for those. Once you're comfortable with logic itself, the last step is to think like a test designer. Recognize the common questions. Look for the question types. Strengthen or weaken the argument. Identify the assumption. Identify the flaw. Evaluate the evidence and identify the main point. When you read the prompt, try to predict the answer before looking at the choices. Ask yourself, what kind of information would strengthen this claim? What would weaken it? That habit protects you from persuasive wording or truth traps. That's actually something that we speak about kind of often, especially when it comes to persuasive writing. In the news or media or even social media, there's a lot of information that is happening, very quickly and very often, and is not always proven to be right or correct, right? So in a world of sensationalized media, in a world of who can get you the information first, regardless if it's right, being able to logically look at these pieces of information and begin to make a logical or a data-driven decision. So that way you can actually start looking at information for what it is, not for how they want you to feel, because that's essentially what a lot of text can do, is especially sensationalized text or context is meant to cause an action. So the action I want you to take is being able to read the news or read an article or read a recap or the summaries that's below for you. Read them and just look at them for what they are, right? So what I would like for you to do is just evaluate the evidence and identify the main point. What is the main point of it all? When you read the prompt, try to predict the answer before looking at the choices. Ask yourself, what kind of information will strengthen this claim? What will weaken it? That habit protects you from persuasive wording and truth traps, as we were just sharing. Remember, on the FSOT, the correct answer isn't always the one you personally agree with. It's the one that fits the logic of the passage. You're being tested on reasoning validity, not belief. So let's recap. Facts can be verified, right? Opinions reveal belief. I would say that's fair. Evidence support. Assumptions connect. And arguments persuade. Once you can get those pieces, or even see those pieces, analyzing policy or news becomes second nature. So to practice, grab any short article tonight or the ones that's actually attached to this video and label 5 sentences, 1 fact, 1 opinion, 1 piece of evidence, 1 assumption, and 1 argument. If you do that for every day of the week, you'll train your brain to think like a diplomat or a lawyer and perform like a top scorer on the FSOT. What encouraged this training is my wife and I, at different points of our life, were on jury duty. And in the jury duty, I knew, like I had it before some years ago, and I knew that when it was my wife's turn, that I knew that she was going to have a good time, like regardless if it's a tough subject or not. And specifically, I knew that because she loves to validate information, and just to make sure that she's critiquing the information, maybe even being skeptical of that information. But I knew that she would have a good time just receiving the evidence and going through it and making that claim. So I know at Target they have these games where you can solve a cold case. I bought her one of those, and she loved it. Talk about an easy date night. So if you also want to work on your logic and reasoning, you can work with those as well. But definitely check out those. But here's some questions that you can do to interrogate yourself if you want to be the detective or the lawyer in this case. What I would like for you to do is specifically is just keep sharpening your logic, stay curious, and get mission ready, right? So with these questionings, oftentimes in the passage that you're going to read, and also if you're working with other people, sometimes you may need to just say it out loud and just evaluate if what you're saying is what you're trying to convey, or if what you're saying, if the facts are deductive or inclusive. So you'll see here that with the fact, is it verifying data or event? Start asking yourself these types of questions. Can it be proven true or false with a reliable data or documentation? Would it be true no matter who said it? If it's an opinion, is it subjective belief or evaluation? Does it express approval, disapproval, or emotion? Even when it comes to evidence, does this provide data, examples, or testimony to provide another claim? Something that I want to make sure I point out, that evidence and fact can both have data. So try not to get confused with that. Fact is just verifying data or an event, where evidence is supporting source. That's one way I've come to look at it. Which is actually what it says here. Number 2 is a source or study mentioned. It must come from somewhere versus someone is proving it. So evidence, as we were just sharing. So assumption, is it unstated belief or a hidden link? There's a lot of things that are unsaid, especially in the pop quiz that we have, and also more than likely is going to be in the FSOT, in the logic and reasoning section. And I get that because the practice test also had some unstated things. So use the document below, and it will essentially help you. I do have a small video I would like to share right after, and I think that it will provide a little texture to what we are talking about now. So even with the argument, is it a claim or supported by reasoning or persuasion? Is there a main point or conclusion the author wants me to prove? And of course, what I would like for you to just kind of culminate here in this entire space is, if this is just a tip for all future diplomats and aspiring diplomats here, describing is a fact, proving is evidence, assuming is assumption, persuading is an argument, and judging is your opinion. So I'm going to share this video. Let me see, stop sharing. And we're going to watch it together. All right, here we go. I'm not going to play the entire video. It's more so just to kind of get us started a bit. I will leave the link in the description if you would like to watch it. I'm going to share the tab. All right, and share.
Learning about logical reasoning and getting more comfortable with logical reasoning questions. So 3 things I'd love to get done today with you in this video. 1, break down the different types of questions that you're likely to see in a logical reasoning section. 2, talk about some of the basic strategies that are very effective for attacking these different types of questions. And 3, also solve a couple of these problems together so you can see the process in action. Speaking of which, I'd love to put the 2 questions we're going to be solving together up right now, just in case anyone wants to try them on their own before we get into the discussion. So if you do, there was the first one, and here's the second one. Okay, please go ahead and pause the video so that you can give these a shot.
These look very similar to the questions that we have in the WhatsApp group. If you're interested in joining the WhatsApp group, there's a link in the description for that as well. Just fill out the Google form, and you will be given a request to join.
So in order to facilitate the discussion, let's start by talking about what it is that logical reasoning questions as a whole are designed to test. And you can take all of the challenges that are presented in the different types of questions and put them into 3 big buckets. They're designed to test your reading ability, your reasoning ability, and your mental discipline. When it comes to reading ability, you can think about it in terms of kind of 2 subcategories. 1, your ability to understand what it is that you're actually reading, right? Your ability to understand the meaning of words correctly. And 2, your ability to recognize reasoning structure. And this is actually what's most important to the test writers. You can think about reasoning structure as the relationship between the different components of a stimulus. And over again, the reasoning structure that it's most important for you to recognize is that which is involved in creating an argument. So let's talk about that real quickly. What does an argument consist of? Well, it's got a point, right? One main point that's being made, and it's got support for that point. Okay, every argument will have a point and support. And you can think of the argument itself as the connection between these 2 things, as the relationship between the support and the point. And for the sake of this video and some of the other things we're going to be talking about, I think it's very helpful to kind of see the argument as a bridge, right, that connects these 2.
I'm sorry. I was listening to him, and it's very good information because I started thinking, wow, that's actually very similar to what we were just discussing, but it's further, it's elaborated. But then I saw this Amazon logo. It looks like a smile. And sorry, I have my defense is that I have a 2-year-old little girl, and sometimes I just see reasons to make happy faces. So I'm going to share about a couple more minutes of this, and you can continue on your own.
Okay? And over again, the LSAT is going to require you to see this relationship correctly. It's going to reward you if you're able to do so. And it's going to punish you if you are inconsistent or if your understanding is not as clear as it ought to be. When it comes to reasoning ability, you can also put all the challenges into two kind of big buckets. One, these questions are designed to gauge your ability to recognize valid conclusions, right? So when, say, adding A plus B does indeed guarantee a certain result, C. But more importantly, far more of these questions are designed to gauge your ability to see when reasoning doesn't guarantee a point made, why not? Okay, and this is one of the most important things, I think, to know about the logical reasoning section and about logical reasoning problems. There are 7 different types of questions that hinge on your ability to see in a very clear and specific way why the support given does not guarantee the conclusion reached. Flaw questions simply ask you to describe this problem as clearly as you can. Required assumption questions ask you, hey, if we're going to fill this gap, what needs to be true? Sufficient assumption questions ask, okay, if we're going to fill this gap, what's enough to guarantee that the argument will be valid, right? So what can we put in that allows this support to actually guarantee this conclusion? Strengthen and weaken questions ask you to address these issues in some way. Strengthen questions will help prop up or fill in that gap, whereas weaken questions will ask you for an answer that exposes the problems in reasoning. Supporting principle questions ask you what general principle will help fill in the problem in this argument. And then finally, match the flaw questions require you to find an answer choice that has the same type of issue that the original argument had. Okay.
I love it. I love it. I'm going to drop the link in there for you just so you can explore that as well. I feel like even if you're not trying to be a diplomat, this is still good information. Again, I come from human resources and also human resources project management and human resources sales, which is essentially human resources technology sales as well. But I've circled the HR desk a few times. But overall, I would say just I am a consultant because I do keep abreast of what is the latest and greatest. But if you are in sales, I'm just going to say it like that. If you are in sales and you are trying to improve your presentation skills, but although you never want to argue, with the client, you do want, as they have their rebuttals and you're creating questions, discovery questions, and they start giving you those reasons why they are not interested, but they're actually telling you why. You know the drill. You can use this to help redirect what they're actually saying by clarifying what they are telling you, and you can categorize and use this information in that way. So I would say that this is more than just for being a lawyer. If you want to just improve your presentation skills and your speaking ability, especially in public settings or virtual settings, this may be a good thing. So thank you so much for watching this video. I'm very grateful that I had a chance to actually present this tonight to the group. They loved it. And the actual logic and reasoning questions, which you'll see in the description, we're going to go over those tomorrow, which is Thursday, October 16th. So if you're watching this, look forward to seeing you then. Make sure you go ahead and join the group if you have not, just so you can get the invitation in time. We're going to meet tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. After that, we will get back to our normal Monday study sessions, which is every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much again for watching, and let's get mission ready together. See you Monday.